On a cold and empty highway, a man stops at a lonely diner just to get coffee and rest for a few minutes. But the place feels wrong from the moment he walks in. The workers seem to know more than they should. The silence inside the diner grows heavier by the minute, and strange details begin to connect to a dark pattern of disappearances tied to that road. As he looks deeper, he finds himself pulled into something far older and more dangerous than a simple ghost story. If you enjoy suspense, mystery, supernatural horror, and stories that turn ordinary places into nightmares, this speech will keep you locked in from beginning to end. 1. The diner at the edge of the highway. I was driving alone a little after midnight, taking the long road home, because the interstate was closed after an accident. The highway was empty, the kind of empty that makes you feel like the world has ended and no one told you. My gas tank was fine. My phone still had battery. I was not lost. But I was tired enough to stop when I saw the diner. Its sign flickered through the fog like it was fighting to stay alive. One word in red neon, Ravens. I pulled into the gravel lot and shut off the truck. For a few seconds, I just sat there looking at the windows. Warm light glowed from inside, but I could not see a single person. No moving shadows, no cars besides mine, no sound except the wind dragging over the building. When I stepped inside, the bell above the door gave a weak little ring. The place looked normal at first. Red booths, a long counter, coffee smell in the air, old music machine in the corner. But there was something wrong with the silence. Not quiet, silence. The kind that feels like it is listening. Then a man behind the counter looked up at me. He was older, tired, and wore a stained apron. He gave me a nod and asked, "Long drive?" I said yes and sat down. He poured me coffee and kept looking at me in a way that made me uneasy, like he recognized me, but did not want to say from where. I tried to make conversation, asked if they were open all night, asked if business was always this slow. He just said, "Some nights are busier than they look." I laughed a little, but he did not. Then while I was lifting the cup to my mouth, I heard it. My name, spoken softly from somewhere behind me. Not shouted, not clear, just breathed into the room like someone was standing inches from my ear. I turned around fast. Every booth was empty. 2 faces that should not be there. I told myself it was the wind, or the hum of the lights, or my tired brain trying to play tricks on me. The cook watched me carefully. "You heard something?" I should have lied. Instead, I said, "It sounded like somebody said my name." His face changed. Not surprise, not confusion, fear. Before I could ask why, I noticed someone standing near the back booths. A waitress. I had not heard her walk in. I had not seen the kitchen door open. She was simply there, wearing a faded yellow uniform and a small name tag I could not read from where I sat. She looked young, calm, and strangely out of place, like a memory that had stepped into the room. She smiled at me, but it was not a friendly smile. It was a smile of recognition. Then she turned and walked toward the hallway near the restrooms. I looked at the cook. "Is she the only other worker here?" He did not answer right away. Then he said, "She should not be out here." That was enough for me to stand up. I followed her past the booths. Along the wall, I noticed old framed pictures of the diner through the years. Staff photos, group photos, holiday photos. I would have kept walking, but one picture stopped me cold. The same waitress was in it. The photo looked decades old. The colors were faded. The frame was dusty. Everyone in the picture looked like they belonged to another time, but her face had not changed at all. I called for the cook. He came over, looked at the photo, and lowered his eyes. Then he told me something I still wish I had never heard. "People who stop here late," he said, "sometimes hear their names before anything else." I asked him what that meant. He looked toward the back hallway and said, "It means the diner noticed you." 3. The ledger in the back room. At that point, any normal man would have left. I know that. I have replayed that night 100 times, and I still cannot explain why I stayed. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was pride. Maybe once something starts pulling you in, part of you wants to know how deep it goes. The cook took me behind the counter and through a narrow hall to a storage room in the back. The walls were stained. The air smelled like dust, grease, and old paper. He opened a cabinet and pulled out a stack of ledgers and news clippings. Missing travelers. That was the theme connecting everything. People who vanished along that stretch of road. Drivers, salesmen, college students, a family of 3. Some disappeared after running out of gas. Some after stopping for food. Some were never seen again. The clippings went back more than 40 years. I thought it was some kind of sick joke until I opened one of the ledgers. Inside were handwritten names and dates. Dozens of them. Then I found mine. My full name, written on the page for that exact date. My blood went cold. I checked again, hoping I had read it wrong. I had not. I demanded an explanation. The cook looked close to panic. He said he had tried to warn others, but most of them never listened. Some ran. Some stayed. Some acted like none of it was real until it was too late. Then I heard a chair scrape in the corner behind me. I swung around. An old man sat there in the dark, thin as dry wood, wearing an old coat and staring at me with pale, tired eyes. I swear to you that chair had been empty seconds before. He spoke in a voice so weak I almost missed it. It writes the names before the doors close. I asked him who he was. He answered, someone who stayed too long. Then he lifted one shaking hand and pointed to a door at the far end of the room. A basement door. And from the other side of it, I heard several voices at once, whispering my name. What waited below? I should have run then. I know that. But the thing about fear is that it can push you in two directions. It can make you flee, or it can make you desperate enough to look straight at the worst thing in front of you. I opened the basement door. Cold air rose up the stairs, carrying the smell of water, metal, and something else I could not place. Something old. At the bottom was a concrete room lit by a weak red bulb. There were shelves, broken machines, pipes, and boxes stacked against the walls. It looked like a place forgotten on purpose. Then my flashlight found the table. Wallets, keys, watches, glasses, phones, bags, personal things, dozens of them, left behind by people who never made it back out. My chest tightened. I was standing in the remains of other people's last stop. On the table was an old tape recorder. Beside it, a cassette already loaded inside. There was a strip of faded tape on it with one word written in marker. Listen. I pressed play. Static filled the room first. Then a voice came through. Mine. My exact voice. Shaky. Breathing hard. Speaking in a whisper. If you hear your name, do not answer. Do not look at the booths. Do not let them make you stay. I nearly dropped the recorder. The message continued, and every word felt like a hand closing around my throat. It was me warning myself from a moment that had not happened yet. Then I heard movement behind me. At the far end of a narrow passage stood the waitress. Still, silent, watching. The old man was there too, just behind her, as if he had drifted into the basement without making a sound. And from the darkness all around them came the same whisper again, now stronger, now closer. My name, over and over, inviting me. 5. The booths were full. I ran. I do not remember climbing the stairs. I do not remember pushing through the back room. I only remember bursting into the diner and stopping dead in the middle of the floor. Because now the booths were not empty. Every one of them was occupied. Men, women, old people, young people, travelers in coats, uniforms, road clothes, church clothes, all sitting perfectly still, all facing down toward their tables or toward the windows. None of them had been there before. The lights buzzed overhead. The cook was gone. I took one step back. Then one of the seated figures slowly lifted its head. Its face was pale, tired, and empty in a way I cannot explain. Not dead, not alive, just waiting. Then another lifted its head. Then another. And all at once, from every corner of the diner, from every booth and every shadow, the voices began. Not loud, not angry, soft, patient. My name, repeated again and again, as if they were asking me to join them. I stumbled toward the front door. The waitress was suddenly standing near the counter, blocking part of my path. She did not move to stop me. She only smiled that same calm smile, like she already knew how this would end. I shoved past and threw the door open. Cold wind hit me hard. I sprinted across the lot, jumped into my truck, and tore out onto the highway without even looking back. I drove until the sky started turning gray. That should be the end of it, but it is not, because when the truck radio clicked on by itself, through the static I heard a whisper. My name. And then a woman's voice, gentle and close, said, "You left the diner, but the diner did not leave you. So if you ever find yourself on an empty highway after midnight, and you see a lonely place glowing through the fog, do not stop for coffee. Do not trust the silence. And if you hear your name spoken in an empty room, do not answer. Some places do not haunt people. Some places choose them." If this story pulled you in, subscribe to the channel right now. Activate notifications so you do not miss the next scary video. Give this video a like, leave a comment telling me what you would have done in that diner, and share this video with someone who loves horror, mystery, and terrifying stories.